Okay, can we start? Okay, so hello everyone, hello Poznan, hello world. I'm Radek, and I'm happy to be a host today for our OLX Masterclass Backend edition. Next, is it working? Okay, okay, and here should be the agenda, but it's not. Oh, oh. Okay, okay, now it's working. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, that's great. Okay, so today we are going to have three presentations. After the second one, there will be the short coffee break. After that, will be last one, and all the Q&As we are going to do at the end of all the event. So there will not be any time for the questions after the presentation, but only at the end one. And if you would like to ask about anything connected with the presentation, about our company, or about anything, so just scan the QR code, join us on Slido, and at the end we are going to move a question one after another. And I would like to invite the first our presenter. So Philip, the stage is yours.
Hey everyone.
You have the power.
Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. So I have a pleasure to share my masterclass with you today. The title is Event Sourcing: Lessons Learned from More Than 50 Million Production Events using the event-sourced approach. So let's start. This is the actual first slide. So my name is Filip Ubniewski, and I work at OLX for almost 5 years now. Currently as a senior software engineer, and I would like to start with a question to you. How many of you wrote a love letter for the Valentine's Day this year? Please raise your hand. Okay. To cheer you up, in 2 days we have Fat Thursday, so you still have a chance. Why I was talking about the love letter? Recently I've heard a very nice quote that documentation is a love letter that you write to your future self. And this quote stuck to my mind, and when I was building this presentation, I had it in my mind for the whole time that this is the love letter. This presentation is a love letter to my past self. Here is me and my past self in the mirror, and I'm sending this love letter to myself and my colleagues to not make the mistakes with the event sourcing again. Obviously, I won't share all learnings because we did all possible mistakes that you can make with event sourcing, but I will share some of them. 4 facts that you may find interesting. I work at real estate, so OLX is not only about OLX PL website, but we have also real estate websites in different countries, like Otodom in Poland, Storia in Romania, ImoVirtual in Portugal, and Obido in Poland. I work in monetization. This is quite important for the context because you may not use the event sourcing approach in every single application. We are working with money, so this approach with the event sourcing is quite handy. So keep that in mind. Please remember about the context that we are in. So again, I have to confess that we did a lot of mistakes, and today I would like to share them with you. So we'll have 5 bite-sized lessons, so you can easily remember them. Each lesson we have a key takeaway for you that you can remember and hopefully not make our mistake in your event sourced application. We'll start with describing what event sorting is not, because people super often confuse event sourcing with other event prefixed concepts like event streaming and so on. So we will dive into it in the first lesson. Then we'll explain what event sourcing really is. Then, very important lesson. We did that mistake. We messed up streaming with sourcing. It has really bad consequences, and I will show that later on. Then the fourth lesson about single and too long streams, very often mistake in event sourced applications. And then a bonus lesson, less about the design of event sourced application, more about the implementation itself, and then a little bonus at the end. So let's start with the first lesson, what event sourcing is not. Because people very often confuse event sourcing with other event things, like event streaming, for example. So event sourcing is not the same as event streaming. The event streaming is about streaming, about moving the event from one place to the other place, like from the green box to the from the orange box to the green box. So it's purely about the transmission. You can use different streaming platforms like Kafka or Event Bus, but it has nothing to do with the event sourcing. Please remember that. Same with event storming. So it's a collaboration technique to gather the requirements and I thought that the mic is off. To gather the requirements and to build a common understanding of the system that you are building. So it's again not related to the event sourcing. We have other technique which is called event modeling. It's again not the event sourcing. It's again a technique to conduct a workshops to figure out what events you can use later on for your event sourced application. But surprisingly, those techniques they play very nicely together, and you can use them together. So you can start by doing the event storming to figure out what the events you should have in the application. But there is one caveat to that. You have 3 different levels of event storming, and for example, the events from the big picture may not be that useful for the event sourced application. You may need to wait for the 3rd level. After the big picture, you have the process level, and then you have design level event storming. And most likely those events from the last level, the design level, will be handy to build the event sourced application. So then we can have also the event modeling, and we can use the events that we figured out at the first stage from these 2 techniques to use in our event sourced application. And then if we have a need to connect our application to let other applications know that something has happened in our application, and send event using the event streaming. So streaming, again, it's about the transmission. But there is also one caveat to that, to using event sourcing with event streaming, and I will share more about that later in a separate lesson. So the key takeaway here, please remember that event sourcing is not about streaming, nor about storming, nor about modeling. Okay, let's move on. Second lesson. So what event sourcing really is. On the left-hand side, we have a photograph, and on the right-hand side, we have a snapshots from a movie. And surprisingly, in traditional approach, we model systems in a way that we keep only the current state, like the photograph. But in reality, our brain thinks in a little bit different way. Our brain is remembering the events, and I can ask you a question that you can answer yourself. Will you know more about this guy after watching a single photograph or watching a movie about that guy? So it's a parallel to designing systems. You'll be able to build a better system. You'll know more. You'll be able to answer for more questions, business questions that your application need to answer with having the events. So I call it memory paradox because it's quite surprising that our brain works in a way that, for example, we remember events from our day, that we woke up, we had a shower, we ate a breakfast, and we went to work. But for some reason, we model our systems by capturing the current state. Like at 6 a.m., we have this state of parameters, that our location is in bed, our energy level is 90%, full level is 0, and clean level is 30. And then at 7 a.m., we forget about the previous state. We change the state of the parameters, we override them. And then 8 a.m., we are in the kitchen, we had breakfast, so our food level is changing to 100%. So the question is, why we are doing that, even though our brain works in a different way. So I researched that, and it appears that it's because of the technological limitations. So 60 years ago, computers had 4 kilobytes of memory. So these guys had to really save the memory. They needed to save the memory, they needed to override the state of the system, and they wasn't able to keep the state of the system with the events, which is not the case anymore. So what event sourcing really is, and when I was thinking how to describe it, I figured out that I can use the same approach as Roy Fielding is using for the RESTful API maturity model. And speaking about this maturity model, we can start with the first level of understanding event sourcing. So on the first very low level, basic level, event sourcing is about keeping state in events, so our application knows what happened. For example, here we have a subscription stream in some SaaS application. A stream is a sequence of events that are applied on top of each other, and we are getting then at the end the state of the subscription entity, one with ID 123. So starting with the first event, subscription created, then something has happened. Our user did something, and we append subscription updated event. And then he did something again, and we again append subscription updated event. We can do better. It's still level 1, in my opinion. We can rename those events to say that plan was upgraded and then plan was downgraded. Moving to the understanding at the level 2, event sourcing is about making the decisions based on the events. So our system now can answer the questions if something can happen based on the events. For example, using this piece of code, can customer upgrade subscription given this list of events? First, we checked in the list of events if he recently downgraded and if he paid based on the events, and we can answer this business question. So congrats. On the second level, you can call your application that it's event sourced, but we can do better. We can start modeling reality. So answering the question why something has happened. Not only what happened and if it can happen, but why. So using more like domain-driven design approach. So we ended up with the plan upgraded and downgraded. But if you really look closely what happened in reality, the trial was started and then it was converted to premium, and then from premium downgraded to basic. So we are getting from the left hand side state, like really CRUD like event sourced application, to more domain driven design. But please remember that it's not only about naming the events, it's also about the content of those events. So the key takeaway here is please remember that if in event sourcing, events are acting as a single source of truth for our application. We are making business decisions based on the list of events that we have in the given stream. And then on top of that, ideally, we are modeling business behavior. In many areas of our event sourced application, we are not at the level 3, we are at the level 2, which looks like more CRUD, create, read, update, delete application. So the third lesson, messing up streaming with sourcing. It has really bad consequences. We did that mistake. So to explain this lesson, we need to first explain the difference between internal and external event. So let's assume that we have some module with a subscription stream. Again, events trial started, converted to premium, and then downgraded to basic. And we want to expose somehow for some client state of our application. So we are applying each event. We are building the current state of our subscription 1, 2, 3, and some client can fetch the state of our application, and that's perfectly fine. But what's not perfectly fine, it's very bad to take your events from the internal stream and start sending them somewhere else outside your application, because you need to let know some other system that premium downgraded to basic. We did that mistake, and we are sending all of the events from the internal stream to some streaming platform. So we are publishing our internal details. It's like allowing other services to read your internal database, like SQL database. It's very much the same situation. Or another example, you're having a Java class and you are making all fields public, and other clients start using those fields, and then you're screwed because you're not hiding your implementation details. And then when those events are sent to some streaming platform, obviously someone is listening for them. That's the case in our event sourced application. And some other parts of the system are also writing to this internal event stream. So please guess what will happen after 1 year of having this approach. You'll end up in this kind of situation, a big ball of mud. So what's the cost of this approach? First of all, it's very difficult to reason about the flow. I know it's the case in general with event-based applications, but it's getting really hard because you are not able to reason about the system easily if your internal stream is published, because some outside side effects are happening, and you can't be really sure what's the consequence of putting the event to your internal event stream. It's also obviously very difficult to refactor the stream, because there are some clients that their logic is based on the internal event. So you start worrying about them. You are not you are not owner of your internal stream, you need to worry about some other teams. No clear boundaries, as you can see on the picture. You can't really assign any ownership to any team. It's very difficult to test. Imagine that you need to set up a test for this system. You need a lot of mocks. The test will be very long, super difficult situation. So how it would look like in ideal world? In ideal world, you would have separate smaller internal streams and not sending every single event from the internal stream to the event streaming platform, but translating some of the internal events using the anti-corruption layer and then sending some more generic events to the event streaming platform. So you are not coupling your internal implementation details with other systems. And please notice the orange box, traditional approach. It's also very often misconception that all modules in event sourced application need to use event sourcing. Apparently you can use a traditional approach, keeping the current state and not using it in every part of the event sourced application. But it's more like a business question. What are the negative business consequences if you're not able to provide the state of the system from the past when requesting something from the traditional approach module? So the key takeaway here is to keep your internal stream events internal, just like the Spider-Man is keeping those peoples in this cabin. Okay, the fourth lesson about single and too long stream. It's also the case in one of our event sourced applications. Please have a look on this stream. It looks very innocent. It's called user stream 123. It has only one very innocent event, user created. And then, fast forward, we are adding some events on top of that, appending plan upgraded, item purchased, invoice issued, and some other events. 2 years later, the stream will have 10,000 events or 100, it depends on the business case, but it will be very, very long. So what are the consequences? We'll take these consequences one by one. But first of all, it's difficult to reason about the stream. The poisoned event can take down loading the stream. There are no clear boundaries. It's very difficult to test, and you will have performance issues. So going one by one, imagine that we are splitting this super long stream into shorter streams, very narrowed down, very focused streams. So on the left hand side you have this super long single stream, user stream, and on the right hand side you have, for example, subscription stream, a purchase history stream, user identity stream, billing stream with dedicated events. So first of all, it's much easier to reason about the stream, because when you need to load context to your brain, it's much easier to read shorter stream than longer stream. It's obvious. And suddenly the narrative when reading the story from your stream, because your stream should be telling the story. The story with 10,000 events may not make sense, but super short streams will have much better narrative to understand what's really happening. Also, system becomes more resilient. That's very often the case in our application, that some user cannot use the platform. Why? Because we have super long stream, and one poisoned event, one faulty event can take down loading the whole stream, and user is not able to do anything. It's super bad user experience. So looking on the right hand side, the smaller stream approach, if the poison event will be appended to one of the streams, only one of the streams will be down, but other functionalities will be still working. So again, the system becomes more resilient. And then you have clear and assignable boundaries. You are able, in larger organizations like OLX, you're able to assign different teams to different streams, because those streams would be implemented in different modules or microservices. So again, it's a very clean, nice situation. Then it's easier to test, because imagine that you are setting up a super long stream with so many functionalities, so many events, and you need to set it up for writing a unit test. It's much easier to set up stream with 2 events or than stream with 100 events. And then system becomes faster, because please notice that you don't need 100% of the events from the event stream in every business use case. Most often you need only a subset of them. So why loading all of the events just to fulfill a business case where you need only 5 of them? It doesn't make sense. So it also improves the customer experience, because now the system becomes faster, because streams are loading faster, because they are shorter. So the key takeaway here is please keep your streams short as possible, but not shorter. And the last lesson, often unit testing mistake. And we have plenty of tests with such approach. Here is some event-sourced unit test. We have given when done section. In the given section, we are mocking the subscription entity with some hard-coded value. In this case, the plan is with the basic value, and then we are having some interaction with this entity. We are applying a command, and we are expecting that something will happen. In this case, some event is outputted by the entity, and we are making an assertion that, okay, this event was returned. What's wrong with that approach? Please compare it with the right-hand side, where we are not mocking the subscription stream, but we are building the stream based on the list of events. And thanks to that, you can be sure that you are testing the state of the stream that is reachable in production application, because using the mocked one, you can never be sure that you are using values that your application could get into that state. So using the list of events, it's much safer. So the correct approach would look like this. In the given section, we are having a list of streams that we like to build our stream based on those events. Then we are having some interaction, applying some command, and then we are at the end asserting that the correct event was produced. We can even make assertion how many events are now in the stream. Previously 3 events in the stream, and after the test 4 events. So the key takeaway, test with state derived from the events, not from mocks. Very quick recap from these 5 lessons. So first of all, event sourcing is not about streaming, nor storming, nor modeling. Please remember that. Event sourcing, it has different levels of understanding, but in the basic, it's just about keeping state of your application using the events. But on top of that, you can be making decisions, answering questions using those events. And then ideally on top of that, modeling the reality. So when you are reading the stream, the narrative from the stream makes sense. Be careful with using sourcing with streaming. It can get really messy when you forget about this separation between internal and external events. Don't send every single event from your internal stream to the streaming platform, because you end up in a big ball of mud. Then keep your streams short, and then test with state derived from events, not from mocks. I didn't have time to include all of the lessons, but if you'd like to learn more, and if you'd like to get those 5 lessons that I shared with you today, please subscribe to the newsletter. If we have at least 5 subscribers, I will publish the lessons. I will know that it's worth it. So again, the newsletter, and if you would like to have similar challenges, work with event-sourced systems, here is the QR code. You can join OLX. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Philip, very much. So my team is taking care about the payments. We are also using kind of event sourcing. So I learned quite a lot today, and we should talk after that because I have a couple of questions. Okay, so our next speaker is Ivo, so please welcome him. That is yours.
Hello. Okay. All right. Before starting, just a quick intro. I'm from Porto. I've joined OLX 1 year ago, working for the delivery integration team, which is very relevant for for this talk. In the past, I was a manager in the e-commerce sector, and yeah, it was a bit of a change now. Outside of work, I do enjoy doing sports, traveling, and game development. All right, so what you could expect for today is to understand a couple challenges of integrating with multiple delivery providers, and solutions to outcome those challenges. So when we are talking about a provider is normally an external entity which provides us a service. It could be, for example, invoicing. It could be a provider for communications. Sorry. Or in the case of my team, delivery providers. Yeah, and integrating with them comes with a lot of hidden challenges that we'll explore shortly. When you are preparing a new integration, like the planning phase comes with a bunch of questions and challenges. For example, are the feature sets compatible? The features that the provider offer, are them compatible with our business? Yeah, so the integration phase can be very challenging. The next challenge that we will discuss is the provider's instability. So, did you ever got paged because of a provider failure? Exactly. Yeah, we need to acknowledge that providers are unstable and planning around that. The next challenge is about maintainability. Um, did you ever faced an issue where the provider adapted their contract and didn't notify you? You are, for example, you have a REST API integration and the provider just decides to do a rollout and it breaks the contract. Yeah, and we should find a way to deal with that challenge also. Sorry. Yeah, and the next issue is about scalability. As their business scales, the provider might not be able to keep up with your scale. Did you ever eat rate limiting from a provider and your requests start failing? Yeah, exactly. And last but not least, the communication and support. When things go wrong, we need to deal with them. And to do so, it's crucial that we have a good support and that we have good communications channel with the provider. Like, did you ever had to wait like longer than a day to get a response for a simple query? Like you send an email to the provider to question something, and then wait for a very long time to obtain a response, and the response was probably not useful at all. Yeah, so these are the challenges that we will be trying to reason about, and I will do my best to give you some tips to know how to deal with them. Before jumping into the solutions for these challenges, I will give a very quick intro about our use case that we have within my team, which is the delivery providers. At OLX, some of you, if you are external, might be surprised. It's a multinational. We are operating in a lot of countries. And within each country, we have multiple integrations with delivery providers. For example, here on Poland, you can choose like between InPost, between Orlen, and yeah, and there's a couple others. And yeah, when you are integrating with multiple providers, for sure the challenges increases a lot. And also to give you ideas. In terms of our traffic, we operate at scale just for the Polish providers. We have more than 1.5 million requests per day. So it's already a challenge to handle when it comes to scalability. Okay, now that we are familiar with the problems. And now that we know the use case from OLX, let's start looking at solutions. Okay, the first phase about preparing the integration. I would say this is the most generic. Like the solution comes a lot about the planning. Like it's a lot of investigating the provider capabilities, the feature set, and trying to make sure that we have a good match. There is typically a collaboration with product and business to ensure that the provider meets our expectations. And besides that, it's crucial that we have a good design of the architecture, and on the next challenges we'll look deeper into that. And other things such as security preparation to make sure that the provider is compliant with our needs, and then we can set up like a testing strategy, the monitoring, and the proper documentation. At OLX, as I was saying, we integrate with multiple providers. So to do that, one of the challenges is the feature set that providers may have different feature sets. For example, in the image you can say, for example, InPost as a feature A and B, and DPD feature A and C. And what we try to do in our end is like unifying the domain. So when we unify the domain, it will make it easier to support new providers in the future. Yeah, it's very crucial that we have the boundaries well defined. So the green line, that we don't expose like the providers' internals into our domain. To deal with this different feature set, we can have a configuration-based setup. For example, as you can see in our domain, we support all the features. But then, to know actually which providers we'll be using, we have a configuration-based, and that way you can add new providers in the future, even if they don't support all the feature set, and it will just unsupport it for certain scenarios. Okay, now let's get a bit more technical. When it comes to instability, we need to account for providers' outages, and we have to have strategies to deal with these outages. The first, which is the most obvious, is to have a good monitoring. It is crucial to be able to identify when things happen, of course. but I mean like a monitoring closer to the provider, to understand how the provider is behaving. So not just in our domain, but also closer to the provider. Yeah. So this is this is to identify when things go wrong, and to actually solve the issues. We need some strategy to recover. A good strategy to deal with these failures is to be able to reprocess the events that happen. So there was a bunch of events when the provider was done, and having the ability to replay these events helps us recovering from the failures. I didn't mention, but to be able to do this, there are some good practice as following an event-driven architecture, and event sourcing is a very good fit here. And with event sourcing, not only are you able to retry the events, if the provider actually has a data corruption, you have the events on your side. You can look at the history, can look at what happened and know exactly what went wrong. So it's a very good fit when you want to make your integration solid with these providers and being able to recover from issues. Last but not least is the back pressure techniques. For example, circuit breakers. So circuit breaker is to avoid putting too much load into provider. So you might have like a fallback mechanism. Let's say that I do a request to a provider. It fails. Instead of spamming the provider with requests that will make it worse, I could have some fallback mechanism, or just try in a bit. So instead of spamming, do it sequential, but with some break between. Here is an example on all of this applied. So let's say we have these integrations with these providers. We could have an anti-corruption layer, so to save our domain from the providers' internals. And this anti-corruption layer could take care of also having like more observability of what is going on with the provider. Yeah. and we could configure throttling and security concerns that comes to providers. So this is like a safety layer. But actually, to communicate with our domain, in this case, if we go for event-driven strategy, we can have commands to communicate with the providers and events to obtain feedback from them. And let's say that there was an outage. Probably the commands could go to some kind of dead letter queue, and we could just replay the queue. And of course, when the provider comes back to life, and it could solve the challenge. Yep. Wrong click. Okay, maintainability. As I mentioned before, providers do change their contracts and may not notify us. To deal with that, there's a couple of strategies. So we should, of course, have our integration layer, for example, the anti-corruption layer that I mentioned before. It could be it will not solve this issue, of course, but it will be a layer of security that will improve this connection instead of having direct communications with the providers. Also, for this integration layer, at OLX, we have some kind of aggregator. So instead of, because we integrate with multiple providers, there are some companies that already provide some kind of abstraction. They aggregate other providers. And of course, that there's advantages and disadvantages of using these aggregators. So it may be easier implementation and give us some more flexibility when it comes to unifying a domain. But it may be harder than to negotiate with end providers to get better prices and so on. Okay. Still related with maintainability. If the provider offers API versioning, we should definitely use it. So it's better to lock to a version. And actually, when we are looking at the provider integrations, we could also, it's actually a cold smell if they don't have it, right? So it's better to be locked to a version, and then if they update, you update on your end in your terms and avoid issues. Yeah. And contract testing. Yeah, we have a connection between the external provider and our service, so it's crucial that we have contract testing. Contract testing is a kind of test that often you could like do it on staging environment or even on production, where you call the client directly and you see if their API is behaving correctly. So it kind of works for both ways. So if they make some changes, you would know, or if you would make changes that would break their contract. So it kind of goes both ways. And last but not least, the monitoring. The monitoring is always crucial to have this working well. Now, in terms of scalability, it's actually the techniques that I talked for instability. They also work for scalability. So the asynchronous communication, like if the providers are having problems keeping up, like with slow responses, having an asynchronous architecture may help us abstract things. Of course, it will still have delays. It really depends on the use case. But yeah, the techniques also work here of having like a event-driven architecture. I talked about circuit breakers, but there are other strategies of back pressure. For example, the throttling. If you are getting errors from the provider that you are hitting some rate limiting, you can apply some throttling. You can think of it like a funnel. You are receiving, let's say, a lot more requests per second, but you are accumulating them on a queue and processing them a bit slower for the provider to be able to keep up. That's very relevant if you have a lot of spikes of requests. Then those spikes accumulate with a queue, and then on the hours that there is less traffic, the provider should be able to process it. And last but not least, having caching strategies to avoid giving too much load to the provider. Yeah. Last but not least, the support and communication. Let's say you are on call and there was an outage. Then let's say you just have like a contact with them through email. Like the system is down and you need feedback, you need to know what's going on. So the solution here is to look into the collaboration with provider. This often starts at business because it is related with the service level agreements. When you are making a new contract with provider, many times you are discussing like the uptime and downtime, like the SLOs. Yeah, so these agreements is important to be specified how the communication is conducted. If it's crucial for our business, we should put effort in finding a good way to communicate with these providers. Okay. Right, so to conclude this presentation, I would say the main key takeaway is that you should plan for failures. So the failures are inevitable. Yeah, so we should be prepared for them and have strategies to recover from them. My second tip is to streamline these communications channels. You will need it more often than you think. You are starting like a new integration. It's a greenfield. You will need feedback. You don't fully understand their business. You need a quick feedback loop, and you need to be able to get support when things goes sideways. And last but not least, it's to maximize automations. Like if there is an issue in your service and you are able to automate it to communicate with the client, go for it. Like as much automations as we have to make this integration robust. Yeah. So when we are talking about service level agreement, we may have like uptime and so on. So you could automate these reports. You could automate these reports, and then you are able to negotiate with the provider, and you have a proof that things are working or are not working. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Okay, thank you, Ivo. Thank you very much. Now I feel better when I know what is happening in dependency injection team, because we are cooperating very, very often because we are in payment, they are in delivery stuff. So yeah. The next point of our event is this. It's a coffee break, but before we go to the coffee break for the next 15 minutes, I would like to ask who is working from you in OLX, from the engineering. So everyone, please take a look on them, and you can ask them a lot of questions during the coffee break. So I would like to invite you for the 15 minutes break, and we'll back soon. So grab some coffee, tea, and back here for the last presentation. Sucharem przed wejściem i... Okay, hello, are you ready? Halo, halo. Jest włączony. Halo, halo. Okay, can you hear me? That's great that you're back. I hope that you are still hungry of knowledge. Oh, and the next speaker is Adam. Please welcome Adam.
Hello, my name is Adam. Today I would like to talk about security topic that is cat and mouse game, so detecting and deterring malicious actors. So without further ado, let's talk about that unseen battle, hopefully unseen for the legitimate users and definitely impacting those malicious ones. So let's take a look into the battlefield that we are fighting on. So mainly, the security as a team, as a domain, focuses mostly on vulnerabilities, patches, DDoSs, all those high-profile threats. And for us remains the field where we look into platform abuse, user abuse, any kind of exploitation. This battlefield touches multiple domains, starting from authorization, so registration, login, through moderation, so at some point all those users will get inside the platform, legitimate ones, and attackers who did very good job pretending that they are good citizens. Then we have to remember that all those malicious actors that want to harm us, harm users, also pay the cost of their actions. So be it time spent on creating the software, creating the bots, through just paying for the hosting because their code has to run somewhere, and sometimes even some additional services that will ease their journey through our platform. And last but not least, we have to remember that if we'll be throwing any obstacles into the road of those actors, they will improve, especially those more dedicated ones, and evolve, making their software better, their approach more sophisticated. So yeah, this battle can take some time. And let's look into what the malicious actors want, what they may do on our platforms. So some of them may want to create some bot farms. Especially on the social networks, they can try to inflate some trends. They can create engagement, so add some comments, create some services that will sell likes, comments on the social platforms. They want to maybe spread misinformation. So maybe you remember this Twitter case from the beginning of the verified program. after it was took over, where one malicious actors pretended to be the pharmaceutical company, and they said that from now on their insulin will be free. So their stock actions just hit the rock bottom, and it was a great loss for that company. And apart from that, simpler stuff like trying to fish some data from the users, trying to spam them. And if we target it a little bit more, on the user fraud, we can have some actors that will try to steal user information, maybe not only directly from them, but also using platform features, then use that to scam those users, other users, and finally, some of them may be interested just in the platform abuse. Not to hurt any user in particular, but owner of the platforms, they may try to generate some additional operating costs, and they may want to find some vulnerabilities, so looking for those higher profile threats. What we can do, we can try to stop them at the first barrier, which is of course registration. Most of the features on our platforms is hidden behind the login wall, so the registration is necessary to get there. Obvious choice, CAPTCHA, the automated Turing test to tell computers and humans apart. Of course, it comes in many forms, from simple type the words thing through more advanced, more sophisticated solutions. So clicking the checkbox, but actually behind the scenes, they use some profiling methods, behavioral profiling, and so on. And of course, the ultimate thing that differs us from the computer, so ability to select all the traffic lights in the picture, right? But CAPTCHA has its limits. So starting from the simple user-facing limits, which can be lack of supported language. It may be problematic for some people to just read that text. I don't know, they may be confused about whether they should select this box or this box also that has just a fraction of the traffic light. To much bigger issues, because now we live in the age of AI, so it's getting smarter, it's getting better at resolving those CAPTCHAs. And well, apart from services offering CAPTCHA solutions, there are also services offering CAPTCHA solving solutions. And those services actually cost about $1 for 1,000 CAPTCHA resolutions. So imagine more involved, more focused bad actor that wants to threaten your platform, threaten your users. It's probably nothing for them, like $1, 1,000 resolutions. I would say that's a good price, right? To accompany CAPTCHAs, we can try to analyze incoming traffic. We can start from the simple things, actually pretty weak things, but we have to start somewhere, right? So if our main audience is browser clients, we can look for the headers with some browser stuff from simple user agent, which is of course easy to spoof, but through some security headers that are added by browsers these days. So I don't know, origin, authority, sex stuff, but if we have API clients, we have to remember about them, so we suddenly don't stop them from registering, because it will hurt ourselves, right? And we can try to do behavioral analysis. So let's say a user pretends to come from web. We can try to look and check whether it downloaded some basic assets, make all the calls as they should be done. And this may help us to profile that user to say like it's better, it's worse, it's kind of shady or something. Next, we can try to look into IP filtering. So if we run our operations in some specific country, maybe we could try to limit the access or discourage more the users outside of our country of operation. So let's say we are operating in Poland and we have someone connecting from China. That looks weird, right? And the same goes for trying to find out whether the traffic comes from the VPN. Of course, this will all depend on your business model. So maybe you just want to allow that kind of traffic, but there is always an option to play with that. And ultimately, we can use whois calls. So there is a service that lets you put IP address and they will search and tell you some basic information. Well, sometimes even not basic informations, and we'll go back to it in a moment. Because the last pillar here is client fingerprinting. Of course, old school kind of that, so asking browser about JavaScript features and fonts to try to fingerprint someone is obviously easy to spoof, but these days probably every website, every service has a secured connection, and we can use this negotiation to profile actors as well. So let's get back for a moment to the whois. So with that's just example code of the library that calls that service, but it's a simple API call. We can put API address into the search, and depending from where this address, this request comes from, we can get different responses. So let's say that we have quite a good citizen at the beginning. So INEA is quite popular internet provider in Poland, and in the response from whois, we can see that, okay, this IP address is registered to this provider. We can tell that, okay, that's probably all right user. But in other two cases, like, frankly, how many clients write their own cloud software to connect to your platform? Like, probably some big partners using your APIs and malicious actors, that's it. So if we don't recognize this user, this connection as coming from our partner, we can assume that there might be something shady going on with those requests. And the second thing I wanted to focus a little bit more is that TLS handshake. So there is a quite popular way, actually two ways of profiling TLS handshake. They were invented at Salesforce, and this is JA3 and JA4 fingerprinting. And the nice thing about that is that this fingerprint is highly dependent on the software used by the thing that connects to your API. So even if you, let's say, detect some malicious actor, block them, and they want to return, if they don't completely change their software and try to connect from the different place, even different cloud provider, this fingerprint will most likely be the same, so you'll still be able to catch them. So this fingerprint is calculated from TLS hello part of the communication, so where the client and server negotiate encryption just before the communication, and it's based on the TLS versions, supported ciphers, extensions, elliptic curves, point formats, and stuff like this. And yeah, this may be quite a good way to figure out that the person is coming back to you. We have something to do with them earlier, but it's also not perfect. So let's try to find out what else we can do to figure out whether the user is a good citizen or there is something shady going on. During the registration, we usually ask everyone for the email address. So let's try to filter that and see what we can get. Of course, the first thing that comes to our minds is email block lists. So obviously, we probably want to throw there all the temporary email providers. So the attackers have to spend some additional time, take additional cost to register their email instead of getting quick access to something like off the shelf, like in minutes, and then just throw it away after the verification. If we had some kind of previous attacks, we can we can add those domains there as well. So we are protected for the future, right? But there may be many of them, the attackers changed their emails that they use. So we can look for adopting some third-party services. Sometimes they are pricey, but usually you just send like one domain once, and that's all. You can save this information for later. But the email domains by themselves, it's not all. So there may be providers that lets you to register the email in the few domains at the time. So for example, Polish o2.pl. So when you register your email, when malicious actor registers their email, they get their username in at least three domains. So like nice bundle, like 3 for 1, right? They may try to use some email aliases. That's pretty much a standard right now. So you can have the same user, but add something afterwards and have it different. So we should look into filtering that behavior as well. And the special case of that is Gmail and their approach to dots in the usernames. So wherever you put the dot inside the username or not, your message still will be delivered to the same inbox. It doesn't matter if you registered with dot or without it. Gmail will just ignore it. So yeah, that's another way. And as far as I know, there are some sites even offering free trials that still doesn't recognize this pattern, which may be pretty useful. And the real pain in the neck is Apple's Hide My Email feature. So if you have an iPhone, you can use this option and Apple will generate a special alias for your email that will have nothing to do with the original one. And this is really hard to track. Probably impossible to figure out from the email itself. But we can use help of some additional verification layers. So in this case, we can try to add some SMS verification. So the new person has to put their phone number, even we have this number already verified, so we can stop them. We can tell them hey, you already have account here. Or if not, like we are sending them the code, they type the code, we have them verified. So this is pretty accessible because probably, let's say probably everyone with internet access has some kind of mobile service, so they have their number, they can receive SMS and so on. But on the other hand, like malicious actor can also go to the shop, right, buy additional SIM card, register it, use it against you. Or if they want to spend a little less money, they can try to go and find some temporary SMS verification service where you can pick some random number and try to put it into our form and get the code, get verified, and you move on. And if you want to do something really, really shady, there are also options to register a SIM card with some random data. And don't ask me how I know. Another layer that we can add, but this may be discouraging for some users, because we can try to ask them for verifying their personal data. So either with bank account data verification. So obviously you have to ask for some $0 payment, but anyways, you ask a new user for the credit card right away, right? I usually just bail if I see something like that, unless it's something I'm really, really interested. I want to really interact with that platform. Low returnable payment, again, same thing. Maybe to encourage user, you can try to build your model about on some pay-in thing, or give them some nice reward if they get verified in this way. So there are some options, but that's up to your business model. That's up to your product. Then, of course, if it's not done right, I mean, it's actually hard to have it done right with support of some banking services that offer one-time credit card, because, like, okay, you register once, you generate next credit card, you register again and again. So we can try to look into a different thing. We are in the European Union, in Poland. In most countries, you can try to use some trusted profile verification, trusted profile registration. So either directly from the certificate of your personal ID, you can sign the request. You can try to use some banking service that will tell the platform that yes, this person is really that person. They are saying that that's them. But again, there is a chance that it may discourage some users. So it's probably up to you. Your mileage may vary. But still an option. Okay, we tried all of that. The bot, the malicious actor, pretended to be very nice citizen. It got through. But there is still something that we can do when they get inside. So first of all, we can try to protect our costly operations. So this usually will be some connection with third-party services. So like sending SMSs, it costs us to send those SMSs as well. If they start to abuse that, it may generate a lot of costs, especially if they have some botnet connecting to our platform and the request goes in hundreds of thousands, in millions. It might be not nice for us. Probably some automated email services that we use, popular right now, API, AI features. So those tokens also have a price, and we have to pay for them. And here I would like to once again mention CAPTCHAs, because they also have quotas. Either we use some free integration, so probably after running out of the quota, the CAPTCHA will stop working, or we'll just get from the discount tier to the public price one, and still generates cost for us. But on the other hand, using CAPTCHAs may be just a first barrier, first safeguard on those other mentioned. And we also can look into adding some rate limits. So I don't know, you can get the verification SMS only once 5 minutes. So the actor will be somehow blocked. But there is one thing to remember, because if we set those limits static, sooner or later, if the bad actor, if the attacker is really focused on our platform, they will learn what the limit is, how far they can abuse it, and with many IPs, with many clients, they can still spam us, and well, the situation will be like this, and that's not us having fun there. Yeah, they can abuse, they can fly under the radar, and still get what they wanted. At the end, I would like to shift a little bit and mention the one very powerful tool, which is shadow ban. This is actually a strictly moderation thing, not exactly related to safety. But, well, when we ban someone in the normal way, some malicious actors, some bot, they know about that. They are prepared for this, and they will switch email, they can switch IP address, then they can switch behavior, they can use other software, and try to be undetected. But the shadow ban is invisible for such an attacker, and it guards malicious actors from the legitimate users. So the bad actor thinks that they are putting like fake offers, that they're sending messages to the users and spamming them, and so on and so on. But the truth is that we played Union Reverse card, and we actually, at this point, want to keep them in the platform as long as it's possible, because they lost their time, they lost their money, and we have them on hook. Yeah, that's what I prepared for today. I would like to share some final thoughts. So this kind of platform safety matters. Like the malicious users can impact our reputation, impact our users, and without proper monitoring, they can just fly undetected. There is a need of the balance because, as I mentioned, on the additional verification layers, it may discourage like legitimate users, those we would like to welcome on our platform. And like the more focused the attacker is, they will behave better, they will be more sophisticated, they will be closer to the real user. And this will create some hardship in detection. And potentially we also may catch a good user and accidentally block them. And finally, this may be also a good thing for the self-development, because to find those threats, to understand how it's done, you have to make quite a deep dive into the backbone of the internet, into how the things work. And yeah, I got to say, for me, this journey, it was quite a big fun as well, because once we set some obstacle, the attackers came up with a way to bypass it, and it was like endless cat and mouse game. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adam. I'm glad that you short a little bit your presentation, because first version had 6 hours instead of 20 minutes. Okay, so now you can just join on Slido if you are not there to add your questions, and I think that we'll start our Q&A. You have the mic, yes. So the first question, okay, which framework did you use for the event sourcing?
So we use our own framework, which is lesson number 9. Do not write your own event sourcing framework. Yeah, so that would be it.
Okay. Okay. So next question. Okay, Slido. Do you have more questions? Okay, so it was the last question, so maybe maybe someone from here would like to ask about something from any of the present. Okay, there's another one. How do you deal with PII data in event sourcing?
It's very similar to handling data, sensitive data in traditional approach. So there are various techniques. One of them is not storing the PII data. It's using some encryption key. So you're keeping the encrypted data in your system and then only deleting the key. So you don't need to physically remove the data from the event source system, but just removing the key. So that's the way to go. It's, I think, the most popular one and the easiest, I would say.
Okay. There is another one. Can you elaborate more about moderation of spammers at OLX? Probably Adam.
Yeah, I guess that's about my presentation, but unfortunately I never worked in the moderation, like moderation itself. From my side, I can tell that we often look into the metrics, into things like number of registrations from different domains, especially keeping eye of those domains that are new to us, that suddenly become very popular. So I don't know if something weird like rival mail accidentally gets over the Gmail in terms of number of registration. It's rather suspicious. The same about anomalies, about using other actions. Yeah.
Yeah, with spammers, fraudsters, or another strange users, we are working at least in 4 teams. So because Adam is in the UDP team, I'm in the payment. So also we have some fraudsters. There is moderation team. Also there is some identity team. So we have, let's say, a lot of collaboration around us. So those methods that Adam just presented today, so it was only the part of that, how we protect or how we try to find the fraudsters or spammers. So there is a quite complicated process.
Yeah, I'm most on the gate on the entry, and this part about shadow ban was actually me a little bit overstepping the moderation domain. So if there is anyone from moderation, sorry for that.
Okay, next question, please. Okay, how do you deal with third-party instability during the incident? How often do you have to resort to completely turning a feature off?
Okay, so first, you kind of have to make sure that provider is aware that it's trying to mitigate the issue. And then it really depends on the feature, it's case specific. But usually we have the messages that failed in some kind of dead letter queue, and we would replay them when the provider would be stable again. But yeah, it's really case dependent.
Yeah, also from my area, from the payments, we can use different providers from time to time, so we can just switch. So it's good to have some kind of the backup, exactly. So it doesn't happen quite often, but we have some backups. Also, we are looking for some status pages or status API, so we can just protect like this. But yeah, it's complicated.
in the case of deliveries, you are already delivered with some kind of provider. It's not as easy to change, but if you have the possibility for that, even better.
Okay, next question, please. Okay, we know some scams from OLX, from the media, or different portals like Autodom. Do we share across the domains or any ideas, guys? Okay, Adam.
To be honest, my focus was mostly OLX. So we are the barrier on the OLX, yeah, that's probably only thing I can tell. Sorry.
Yeah. So about the scams, so mostly this is this, let's say, our moderation team. So they are mostly on the first level of the protection here. So we are not from these teams, but from my team, I can say that we are cooperating with estate and also motors services to learn how to protect better. but there are some, let's say, the high-level initiatives on to cooperate on this. So yeah. And another one, where you store your events, which database are you using?
We are storing the events in the DynamoDB, which is database from AWS. I do not recommend it for event-sourced applications because, for example, if you want to use this optimization technique called snapshotting, and the snapshot size will be over 400 kilobytes. This is the item size in DynamoDB. Then you're adding some complexity because you need to use some other databases, or we use S3 for bigger snapshots, so it doesn't make sense. But using snapshots, it's also a bad practice, I would say. It's a smell that your stream is too long, and you should reconsider designing your stream a little bit shorter, so you don't need the snapshot at all, because it adds redundant complexity and should be used as a last resort. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and this is how we work. So we are working and learning. What do you think about implementation your own CAPTCHA solutions?
Oh, tough question. If you have some super interesting idea for that, that will be hard for the AI to figure out what to actually do, and quite intuitive for humans, why not? Try it.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Okay, any more questions? Maybe from here. Do we have anything? Okay, any other questions? Do we have something on Slido? No? Okay, so I think that we can just move on. Yeah, it was our last slide. So thank you very much for the attendance. Now we are ending our live. Okay, so now we just turn on the live stream. So I would like to invite all of you from this place to the next room for the networking. And please remember all of those guys from OLX to ask them a lot of questions, because this is not the end. And it was great it was a pleasure to be here, also meet you, and I hope that we'll talk later about everything what is happening here and how we protect and how we work here. Okay, thank you very much.